Guys, one more point I didn't mention earlier is on entering the trade. Don't enter the trade if the market has escaped the Bollinger Band, even if it's in your favor by 20 to 30 points. So by this, you really just want to hold your cursor over the current over the current bar that you're going to enter in, and just read off the value of the Bollinger Band, which you should be able to read off, which is 14412. Now, if your entry point is 30 points below that, you should be more wary, and I would recommend not going in at this point, because usually when the market is past the Bollinger Band by a certain pointage, by 30-40 points, it does have a tendency to retract.
But this one's okay, right, Abby? This one seems fine.
Yep, this one is only about 10 points below, so it's okay for us to trade. Right, now on this given bar again, we've entered the trade, so going short. Now, people may be wondering about the stop loss. We don't have a physical stop loss implemented, but we're using the blue line, the MA20, which has a key at the top here. MA20 is represented by the dark blue line. We're using the MA20 as our stop loss. So, as this is an hourly strategy, and some people will be implementing it only on the hour, and this is what we're recommending you should do also. The point at which we would get out if the market went against us is if it closes above the MA20. So if the MA20 is at the moment 14468, so if you could, once again, you can read off the box just on the left of the cursor here, the MA20 is 14468. If the market closes after 9 o'clock bar at above this level, that's the point at which you should get out of the trade, because your stop loss has been implemented at this time. So it's a mental stop loss.
So I've got a question for you, Abby. So during the hour, I'm in the trade. I go and get a cup of tea. I come back. It's 20 past, and the bar has gone against us, and it's risen above the MA20. Do I panic and get out?
Right. This is well, you can get out, and most people will from emotions get out. But following the strategy, this is not what the strategy is telling us to do. And really, no one should be getting out from this unless your emotions just can't hack it. But stick to the strategy. The strategy is to only if it closes above the MA20. So it has to close above. If it ventures above during the hour, you're still hoping that it goes back in your favor. And there's been countless times where I have closed my trade during the hour because I got scared that the market's going to keep on racing up against me or racing away from me. But on countless on occasions that the market has returned back in my favor, because you got to remember that the signals that you're taking when you're entering this trade has put the probability in your court. So the market should go in that favor, in your favor that you've estimated it to go into. So even if it's closing above the MA20 during the hour, you should wait until the end of the hour to see if it's still in that same situation, and hopefully it will return back in your favor.
So since this is an hourly chart, it can only close on the hour, right? So just because it moves up above the MA20, we don't get out, and that's the strategy. And as Avi says, countless of times it'll just go peekaboo above the MA20, and some people, especially beginners, they panic and they get out, but there's no need at all. If on the hour though it closes, then you get out.
Right, now for you guys who are wondering, what do I use as a stop loss if I'm entering above the MA20? I'm going to cover that in a second. I'm just going to find an example. Right, this is going to be a hypothetical example, guys, so please don't take my word for this, as this is entering a trade. So if on this example we're going to sell short on this open of the 1 o'clock bar at this point here where the cursor is at the moment, that's the open of the bar. I hope all of you agree that we couldn't use the MA20 as our stop loss, as anything above this point is our losing territory and anything below is profitable. So on this occasion we'll be using the Bollinger Band as our stop loss.
So again, what if it moves above during the hour?
Once again, it's the same rule. Even if it goes above during the hour, you should still wait to see if it closes above. If it doesn't close above and closes back in our favor, it's gone back in our favor. Hopefully the next hour should go back in even more into our favor and give us a profitable trade. So it's the same scenario. So it's vice versa. If we're going long, buying into the market, if we are buying below the MA20, we'd have to again use the bottom Bollinger Band. So I'm just going to scroll once again and see if we can find an example of this. Right, so just the next bar next to that, if we are buying, let's use this one, the 1 o'clock bar here. If we're going to be buying at the open of this price, which is where the cursor is at the moment, our loss, if we are buying, would be anything below it, and our profit would be anything above it. So on this occasion, we can use the MA20 as our stop loss, and so it's the same scenario as the one I described earlier. But if we are buying on the 2 o'clock bar, now please guys, remember this is hypothetical. We wouldn't be doing this. This is not an example of a trade we would be doing. So this is the open of the bar here. Now I hope all of you would agree that we can't use the MA20 as a stop loss, as the MA20 falls into our profitable scenario. So the market, if it's going up, then it only hit our MA20. So on this occasion, we're using the bottom Bollinger Band, and only once again if it closes below on the hour on the bottom Bollinger Band.
Yep, I think that makes sense.
Right, moving back to our example where we were selling short in the market on the perfect scenario. Right, one thing I like to do is when I'm entering a trade, I like to have a limit of 100 points. If during the hour the market goes crazy and goes massively in my direction, the tendency is if it went 100 points, it's going to retract a fair bit during that hour because of people taking their profit in the market, which would cause the market to go back upwards. So I like to keep a limit of 100 just in case the market does decide to make that for me during the hour and closes only in 50 points of profit. I've lost out on 50 points there, which I could have made. So I'm going to scroll to the right now and see what happened in the trade. We already know it went in our favor, as I showed you earlier. So now exiting when we're in a profit is a totally different scenario. We're not using the MA20 to indicate anything to us. We're only using the MA20 as our stop loss when we're in loss situation. So going on this bar here, when it closes, we're assessing 2 points and trying to decide if we're going to be exiting the market or letting our profits hopefully continue going downwards. Really, on the point out which I talked about on the entry of whether the market is a certain point below the Bollinger Band, so it's escaped the Bollinger Band by a certain point. Really, if the market has escaped the Bollingers by at least 30 points, so once the market, like on this occasion, you can read off just past the cursor on the left hand side, the Bollinger, the lower Bollinger, which is a Bollinger with a little minus sign next to it, is at 14387, and the close of this market was at 14338. So that is roughly around 50 points past the Bollinger Band. And so at this point, we should either be considering of closing the trade, but preferably implementing an actual physical stop loss to lock in some amount of profit. So the type of levels you'll be looking at is either a break even, which is your entry point, but in reality at this point we're around 60 points in profit or so, if not a little bit more. So we'll be looking to secure at least 40 points on this occasion, and really just if the market does decide to continue going downwards, then we'll be better off, and we're allowing our profits to run. So now if we had secured 40 points, it would roughly be at around, so if our open was at 14401, our 40 points would be at roughly 14461. So if our stop loss was if we secured 40 points of profit, we were then going on to the next hour and seeing what happened at the close of that hour. So we may be stopped out in the next hour, but hopefully it would continue going down. So I'm just going to scroll ahead now, and well, it didn't go anywhere past the open. I'm just going to move to the left. You can see that the 10 o'clock bar didn't move anywhere past the open, so the market continued going down, and it closed at a price of 14277. So during this hour, our limit of 100 points would have been kicked in, and that's an excellent trade. Really, 100 points profit on a trade is an excellent trade, and really we would be glad not getting out with those 60 points on the previous bar. We just earned another 40 points on this bar, if not more.
Okay, so that was a successful trade, but that's just one example. So what we'd really like to do now is go back over the entire month, as long as this particular charting software allows us to do. And what we'll do is we'll go and find several scenarios. Hopefully we'll find some going long, buying, and also going shorts, so that we're actually selling into the market and selling short. And at the end of that, you should have lots of practice, and keep going over it, guys, as well. Keep going over it. The more you go over it and get those little distinctions, the better you'll get. So let's go on to the next recording.